Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to the channel. It's not going to be the normal intro or a normal video. This is going to be another one of those informal opinion pieces on the new Classless update number 5 on Ascension. This one is fairly extensive, I want to say. A little bit more in-depth than the last one I reviewed. That one didn't cover or change nearly as much, but this one changes quite a bit from what I've been told. So let's go ahead and just go through it together, and I'll give you my opinion on some of the things that I've personally already experienced in game and talking with other people. But let's start right here at the top. So power word revamp. Few spells are more iconic than the Discipline Priest ability Power Word Shield. For this update, we have changed a few talents and overhauled their mystic enchants, creating new synergies and lots of opportunities for novel playstyles to emerge. Words of Healing has been made into legendary and its effect reworked. Your borrowed time now also increased the critical strike of your direct healing spells by 15% while active. In addition, borrowed time is no longer consumed by casting spells, but its duration is reduced by 2 seconds. Dominant Word Shield has been reworked. It now reads, your Power Word Shield now absorbs 250% of its normal value when used on a target at below 75%. The additional absorb effect lasts for 5 seconds and reduce the cooldown of your Power Word Shield by 1 second. In addition, the mana returned to you from your Rapture is increased by 100%. Okay. I don't have any personal experience playing Power Word Shield. I don't really know which REs are being currently used by Power Word Shield healers in raids. I know that in our raid specifically, we had people that were like the raid-wide shielders, and then we had one guy who was very specific with like really powerful shields on raid or tanks specifically. So we already had 2 different types of play styles, and I don't know exactly which ones they were using, but I guess if you have any experience with it, please leave your feedback down in the comments of the video. I'd love to hear a little bit more from people who have some more experience than I do. New epic enchant, continued power, reduces the effect granted by copious power by 33%, but now has 2 charges. That seems interesting. So you can like get this might be a multiplier on your output for healing, because even though you're reducing the effect by 33%, you are giving it 2 charges, so you're essentially doubling the length of it. Whether or not it actually pans out to be that way, I'm not really sure. Final shield has been changed to mystic enchant from legendary. That's fine. Armor of Faith now grants shield equal to 10% of the heal, up from 5, and now also procs from flash heal. That's pretty good. Soul Warding talent now reduces the cooldown of your Power Word Shield by 1 second, down from 4 seconds. That's pretty huge. That's a 4 times multiplier on the talent. That seems a little extreme. Like, maybe change it 1 to 2 seconds from 2 to 4, not down to 1 second. Like, that's pretty huge. Let's see. Soul Warding now reduce the cooldown again. 3 times multiplier. Power Word Shield can now trigger Grace. Okay. If you want to focus more narrowly on Power Word Shield, you can just do that too, and not now with a really powerful legendary mystic enchant and dominant Word Shield. Okay. So scaling bubbles. We have a few more changes happening to absorbs. These changes are primarily bug fixes, but we'd like to take a second to explain them anyway. Absorb spells such as Power Word Shield, Mana Shield, and Ice Barrier are now increased by PvE power when they originally weren't, which is good. Fixed a bug where talents that increased your nature healing would increase the absorb effects of your holy absorb spells, and vice versa. So I did know about this. I thought it was kind of silly, personally, that it was that way, but apparently it had been in the game for so long that it almost seemed like a feature at this point. And I have spoken with people in my raid and other people around the server saying if they implement a PvE power scaling, which it didn't before, it might be on par with the buffed nature healing. It actually might be a little bit better in the end, because if you give people the PvE power and not have to focus on people taking nature healing stuff, they might be able to shift those talents into more like impactful talents later on. So it actually might be a net positive, but it's I haven't seen it yet. We do have our heroic 25 Kara coming up tomorrow, so we'll see about that. Primary purposes of this change is to make PvE power scaling consistent and to fix the bug where absorb spells wouldn't benefit from it. This means that gear progression will be just as rewarding for players focusing on absorb spells as it is for their friends. To offset these changes and prevent them from causing a sudden surge in power for absorb spells, we reduce the base amounts and scaling for the spells mostly affected by it. Absorb given by mana shield. Damn, really? Okay. That kind of sucks because like I've always kind of like fantasized about making like a shield caster tank. Casting mana shield on myself. That kind of sucks. Fixed a bug where the coefficient of fire was too high. Their power was reduced from 70 to 40. Okay, that's fine. Fire ward. I don't know. It's not that good. I only used it for one fight. Shade of Iran specifically. Reduced the scaling power ward shield to 48 down from 60. So a 12% multiplier on that. Not too bad, I don't think. Like, given the fact that PvE power is now affecting it and you can use those talents in other places, this might not be as bad as people think. Fix some issues with PvE and PvP power being inconsistent and increase the values overall. PvE and PvP powers on gear has been tripled, but their effects has been reduced proportionally. The intent of this change is to make the values found on gear more closely represent the power they grant. Let's see. Fix some issues where PvE and PvP power caused it to scale incorrectly for different spells and abilities. This would result in melee auto attack being increased by up to 8% in PvE, and all physical periodic damage being PvP has been updated to offset this change. Okay. I've seen this in game already. Like when you read the tooltip now, it shows like a 75% increase. It kind of doesn't really serve a purpose. I feel like this update's kind of stupid, personally. It almost feels like I've played other games where they just like they give you a bigger number with the illusion of thinking you are stronger than you actually are, when in reality you're doing the same as you were before. It's kind of silly, honestly. Like, instead of now having 24.75 in full heroic gear, I now have like 75.75, but it doesn't do anything. It's a cosmetic change that I don't know. It just seems kind of stupid. Okay, so light artillery. This is the big one. So multi-shot now deals 10% less weapon damage. Focus burst now makes your multi-shot into a channeled ability, which breaks on movement. Auto shot skills still fires while channeling. Lone wolf now increases damage by 3 to 6%, down from 4 to 8. Arrows of fire missing enchant now has a scaling of 1.5, down from 1.2, down from 1.5. Hunter-based builds have been performing extremely well in PvE and battlegrounds lately. They have, largely because the combination of being able to dish out top-tier single target damage while also being more mobile than any other DPS build. I completely agree with that. Having that mobility is part of what makes these builds unique. With these changes, builds like this will still be strong when stationary, but will really stand out when they can leverage their mobility advantage. So there's two ways that I look at this. So on the other hand, I do agree that hunters did need a little bit of a numbers change. Like, it did feel kind of wrong. Like, granted, I have seen some exceptional melee players that do push top tier DPS, like competitive DPS. I feel like it's kind of unfair to them that they have to deal with mechanics that ranged don't, and hunters being able to use abilities that hit essentially harder than most other abilities in one button click, like multi-shot plus focus burst plus all the REs and the talents. You know, I could realistically crit for like upwards of 26k total damage, and with one button click on an instant click with a 5-second cooldown, or I mean 8-second cooldown. That seems a little absurd. I do agree. I don't. On the other hand, I actually don't agree with this philosophy change about focus burst. So the thing that originally interested me in the focus burst multi-shot hunter was it was like a shotgun build. You went out of your way to add as many projectiles to this thing, the multi-shot, as you can, and then it's focus burst. You're literally turning into a shotgun. So it's like, it was very flavorful, very thematic, and very like very cool to play. but now that it's a turret ability where you stand still and fire, it basically turns it into what it already was, but just gives you more single target because now you're hitting one target with all the projectiles. It took away the uniqueness of it and just made it so, like, what's another good example? Right now I'm playing Last Epoch, so there's a skill for multi-shot called Giant Killer that will make all the projectiles hit the same target but subsequently do less damage, which is essentially this now. So multi-shot has gone away from like this cool flavorful ability of being a shotgun hunter into this turret ability, and I don't particularly enjoy it right now. Like, I've done a little bit of just testing around on the live server on the dummy, and it doesn't feel right, honestly. It kind of feels kind of shitty. But that aside, as much as I feel negatively about that, there are some positives to this. So some new enchants we'll go over here. Legendary enchant, Fury of the Titans. Your maximum rage is increased to 300. You learn Titanic Strike, a finishing move that strikes with both of your weapons. When used at full rage, Titanic Strike makes you go into a Titanic Fury, increasing physical damage with all attacks by 15% and removing all rage costs for 12 seconds. When this effect ends, your rage is reset. Okay, so this RE seems interesting historically, and I'm just looking at the last Classless update when ambidextry came out. It was objectively pretty shitty. The best way to use single-minded Fury right now is Slam and just Slam. The talent gives you this illusion where you want to use Slam and Overstrike or Overpower and Mortal Strike. The sad reality of it is, in the current state of the game, if you try to focus on scaling all three of those, you're going to do less damage than if you just focus on Slam. So ambidextry sort of like tried to make it a little bit more competitive by like, oh, now you do want to use your Mortal Strike and your Overpower, and then they threw Rend in there for some reason. Like, the casting of the Rend is what then procs the thing, if you're familiar with ambidextry. It was so clunky, and the damage was so dog shit compared to just overheating. And the reason overheating was really good because it procs off all your melee abilities and your auto attacks, which you have a ton of. So I'm hesitant to see if this is actually going to be any good because overheating scales best with slow weapons, and every TG build I've seen uses overheating, and it's like 20 to 25% of their damage. So I don't know how this one's going to work out. Striking with both weapons really isn't as strong as you might think. Yes, the 15% damage is pretty sweet, and the rage cost reduction for 12 seconds is going to be sweet, but the fact that your maximum rage has to go up to 300 before you get this effect, you're going to be essentially in this weird limbo where you want to try to generate as much rage as possible, but while you're generating that rage, you don't want to spend it, so your DPS is going to be overall less. So you're going to have to find a way to try to somehow generate so much rage that while you're using your abilities like Heroic Strike, Whirlwind, Bloodthirst, whatever, in your TG build, you're also netting rage. So you're going to have to invest heavily into rage generation, and it might take away talents and REs from other things that will make this RE... Honestly, this is probably going to be garbage. That's just my prediction. I don't think it's going to be good at all. I like the idea of kind of making these legendary feeling REs for these very niche builds like the single-minded Fury and the TG stuff. It's just traditionally they never outweigh frankly the damage of overheating and using other shit, basically. So my prediction, this is probably never going to be used outside of fun builds, but if you wanted to be competitive, I don't think this is going to be anything very good. Kopi's power we went over before. Fetch me their bones. Dealing damage with steady shot or wing clip will reduce the cooldown of kill command by 2 seconds. In addition, your kill command now increase the damage done by an additional 5% per stack. So this one's actually really cool. So this kind of brings the steady shot hunter that I've been really wanting to play kind of up into line with, I think, maybe more competitive builds right now, the traditional hunter. Using a bow, using munitions expert, getting a ton of attack speed, and just pumping out as many steady shots as you can. Basically having kill command up at all times might be something you could look into, but we'll see. We'll see. New epic enchant, lightning discharge. While casting lightning bolt and chain lightning, your lightning shield is supercharged, increasing damage by 50% and making it discharge pure energy, stunning nearby enemies when triggered. Not bad. 50% more damage. That's pretty cool. New epic enchant, natural synergy. Your shaman direct healing spells increase the critical effect chance of your next regrowth by 5%, stacking up to 10 times. The periodic heal of your regrowth will now critically heal the target of your earth shield. Interesting. Okay, so I didn't see this one. So so in my last video that I made for my healing build that I used, it was a hot base primarily using regrowth, but also had some chain heal and lesser healing wave in there. And my regrowth already had a 50% base crit. So now I could see something along the lines of that being a little bit more viable, stacking this up to 10 times and having a guaranteed regrowth crit to get the blooming growth might actually be pretty cool. Not too bad. In addition to these new enchants, a lot of the existing enchants got some love. Atonement now heals all targets affected by grace instead of the one you're healing them. Pretty cool. Increase the attack power scaling of Frostbolt and Ice Lance from Ice Slash from 10 and 2% to 15 and 3% respectively. In addition, Ice Slash now restores your Finger Frost to maximum stat count. That's cool. I've always wanted to play around with the Ice Slash RE, just never really had the chance to, but I'm glad that's getting a little bit more love. Earth's Blessing has been changed to Epic and now grants 2 charges of Earth Shield and increase the healing of your next Earth Shield orb by 50%, stacking up to 3 times. Sorry, I kind of butchered that. That's pretty cool. I mean, getting 150% effectiveness on a heal that can heal for like 2k is pretty good. Shadow's Vision, Devouring Plague effect has been changed and now reduced the periodic interval by 33%. Okay, so it ticks faster. It's pretty cool. Devouring is now an epic mystic enchant instead of legendary. That's actually really big. That's pretty cool. It never really felt like a legendary, to be honest. It always felt just like an epic, so I'm glad they changed that. Psychic Influence now makes your mindfully increase the damage of your Shadow Repain, and Vampire can touch deal 30% up from 20, so 10% damage buff there. Pretty cool. The buff granted from Wild Wrath Mystic Enchant now stacks up 3 times. I believe this is the one that they just came out with, the Wrath Cat. Harnessed Energy now can stack Missile Barrage twice, but can only trigger Missile Barrage from Arcane Blast and Starfire. Okay. Transcendental Embrace now triggers from Healing Wave. That's cool. Earth's Blessing has been changed to Epic. They repeated that twice. Cool. If you guys are watching this, the devs, you wrote the same thing twice. Lunar Spirits will now spread the Moonfire Dot effect without dealing instant damage. Lunar Spirit has been made into an epic enchant and granted an effect. It now reads, your arcade missiles spreads Moonfire to your target on your target to other nearby enemies within 10 yards. In addition, you have a 10% chance on Moonfire ticks to grant a buff to your next Arcane Explosion, which will leave a Lunar Spirit on target's hit, dealing 6 damage over 6 seconds. Okay. That was pretty wordy. Okay. So, wiki updates. One last thing. We're constantly working on improving our wiki, giving detailed descriptions on buff and debuff stacking, and diminishing return categories. Cool. So they're updating the wiki. That's pretty good. Overall, I'm fairly happy to see some of the changes. I would say that it's a really good step in the right direction. So Nimzo, if you're watching this, if you were the head on pushing this update, I congratulate you. I think it's a really good update overall. I would venture to say that the 3 biggest things that I'd say is the change to PvE power and PvE power, mostly cosmetic. I feel like the player base doesn't really care as much maybe about the visual aspect of the PvE power showing a higher number in the character thing. So if it comes down to needing to change code on server side to achieve that, and it might cause more problems later, I would hazard just to leave it alone, because a lot of people don't even give a shit anymore, honestly. The multi-shot hunter changes, I do agree with. They were very, very strong, and I'd imagine they were a nuisance in PvP. I would like to see this reversed. The whole reason I wanted to play the multi-shot hunter, the focus burst hunter, over any other hunter is the flavor of being like a shotgun hunter, like a blunderbuss type hunter, where you fire off just a cascade of all these projectiles, and it was really effective in that aspect when you build around it. It kind of takes away from the flavor and honestly makes me not want to play it anymore. Even though it's still going to hit fairly hard, it makes the build less fun. And the fact that it's a channeled ability and it has a 1.5 second channel makes the rotation horrendous for multi-shot hunter. Not really that good. Fury of the Titans, it is cool sounding, but ultimately the fact that you have to get to 300 rage and then you lose all your rage at the end of it, I don't think it's going to be good at all. I don't know what kind of internal testing you guys had on your servers. From a dev standpoint, I don't know if you have some super secret sauce build that, like, you know, no one in their right mind is going to be able to find out. But I can tell you, just from someone who's been playing Slam and Melee for quite a long time, tripling your rage pool and the fact that you have to hit max rage for this effect to even happen, especially with Titan's Grip, because you don't generate as much rage per second as you do with like a fast hitting, like normal, like single-minded Fury build. I do not think this is going to be good. It's flavorful, it's rad, it's awesome. I love the thought behind it. I just don't think it's going to be good enough to see any kind of like actual play outside of fun. And if that's what you're going for, then you've hit the nail on the head. But if you're looking to push Titan's Grip a little bit more into the competitive realm, this is not the way you want to do it. But overall, pretty good, guys. I'm interested to see how the meta gets shaken up by this, and I'm hoping that maybe people don't rage quit and, you know, want to never play the game again just because their build gets changed a little bit. If you are one of those people, I stress to you now, things will change, and your build will not stay as powerful as it is right now in any way forever. So if you don't expect things like this to happen, then you're delusional, and you need to reevaluate why you play the server and why you want to play the game. So I'm gonna end on that. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.